Well, hello everyone. I'm Mike Kelly, the voice of the Missouri Tigers, and it is with great honor that I introduce you to Missouri's newest director of athletics. He's a dear friend to me, someone that I've known since 1997. I've worked with this gentleman, I've worked for this gentleman, and I am tickled to death to say, welcome back to Columbia, Laird Veatch.
Thank you, Mike. We are beyond tickled to death too, as you might imagine. This is just been a surreal experience day to this point, and to be able to work in this profession is, as you know, pretty special. A lot of people would love to be able to do what we do, but to be able to do it at a place like this, and particularly in this role, it is incredible. I feel so amazingly blessed.
We had so many great memories, very productive times back in the late 90s and the early 2000s. But Laird, as I see you sitting here today, there are a couple of people that I have to bring up because I know John Cadillac, Mr. Mizzou, is smiling in heaven today because he knows that Laird Veatch, one of his favorite people in the world, is the director of athletics at his institution.
You know, I have used the term my favorite human many times when I talk about John Cadillac. I mean, that man, you talk about just heart on his sleeve, one of the best storytellers. He never met a stranger, and he was so great for me as a young development fundraising person to just to be around and see how he interacted. I remember him talking about fundraising in the early years as we were driving down in the Mizzou van. Unfortunately, he was driving, which was a little dangerous. And I remember asking him at that point, like, how am I going to do this fundraising thing? Because I'm not you. I mean, that man was the most, gregarious, wonderful, engaging. And he told me, Laird, you're going to be a great fundraiser because you're sincere, you connect with people. And it was one of those moments really kind of empowering for me because I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And he, man, I just love that man. His family, the things he meant to this place. Talk about stories. They are endless when it comes to Mr. Mizzou.
Yeah, no question about it. And, Joe Castiglione was here at the time. He left and went to the University of Oklahoma. And in terms of a career development standpoint, I would think in walks Mike Alden at the proper time for the development of Laird Veatch's career.
No question. I have told many people this. I am planning to mention it during the press conference today. Mike Alden was genuinely the best teacher I've ever had. Now, he was not easy,
no.
Right? As you know,
yes.
Right? It was demanding, and we really got after it. The work ethic was off the charts. We had an incredible young group of administrators, as you know. Had a little fun in the process, but learned so much because he was a great teacher, and he demanded a lot, but he taught you a lot throughout that process, and that's why you see so many of us. One of the reasons we've had so much success in this space is because he taught us all the fundamentals of what it was really supposed to be about to be an athletic director and administrator.
Yeah, which includes, cutting a few trees, raking a few leaves, power washing a few stadiums along the way.
Yes. It was a different era. I drove past Lot G on the way in, and Lot G looked a lot different back in the day. Little gravel, little trees overhanging. So the story you referred to, one of many, but Ross Bjork and I unfortunately kind of oversold that lot a little bit. There was some real good demand for Lot G, big kind of party space. And we realized it last minute, so we took it upon ourselves to add some parking by cutting down the trees all along the outside, and happened to have a little injury. Right? We had two probably non-qualified guys with a chainsaw in their hand, and Ross had a little injury.
Still has his leg.
He still has his leg. He still has a scar, but if I remember right. And my wife warned me. She told me, "You guys are going to hurt yourself." And then, of course, that's what happened.
When you think about the path that your career has taken, and the different opportunities that you've had along the way to grow, who are some of the other individuals that have had left such an indelible mark on you?
Man, I have been unbelievably blessed with an amazing list of mentors. So you go back, I mean, of course, Coach Schneider and the influence of that and that whole experience as a player and being there, particularly in the very, very beginning when turning it around and the challenge and discipline of that, but the payoff and the experience of it. Of course, Joe Castiglione, even though we were only here together maybe a couple years, year and a half, has still been a huge, supporter of mine, friend of mine. I was able to actually work for Lost Odds at Texas for a while too, so that was incredible. The list goes on and on. Worked with some incredible athletic directors who are still out there. John Curry, Scott Strickland, Jay Jacobs is a good friend. It's been a pretty remarkable run, and I've just been placed in these incredible settings to learn in different ways from different people and different roles. It's given me, I think, a real healthy perspective of college athletics.
How has it changed over the course of the last 25 years?
Dramatically, and particularly, obviously, in the last handful. Right. I mean, it is the rate of change, the pace of change, the role is different. As I told our staff when I just met with him here a little bit ago, I mentioned I'm gonna be very external. I'm gonna be out front. I'm gonna be on the road. Because in so many ways, like it or not, revenue is the front line of competition now in college athletics. You have to have money to invest. Mm-hmm. And part of that is the NIL space, but part of it is just particularly in this league and where we're at, it is unbelievably competitive in terms of resources and the types of things that does for a coach and what they're able to do on the actual playing field. That's where we need to be, and so part of it, in some ways, is difficult because you want to be here. You want to be at practice. You want to be in more with the student athletes. That's the stuff you love. That's why I got into this. I was one, but really, we need to be out, and we need to let our other leaders in the department really run things day to day, and just be out there and shaking hands and making friends and asking for help.
There is an importance when you take over any job in terms of assessing what you have and what you're inheriting. One thing that you know for sure, you have to hit the ground running because there is a large project that is on the horizon, a wonderful $250 million expansion renovation to Memorial Stadium. As you look at that and knowing the different types of resources that it's going to take to accomplish that, what are some of the things that come to mind from your perspective?
Well, first of all, I am unbelievably excited that we have that. I mean, because many times in this role, you have to kind of get in and sort of pull something like that together, and then kind of get it rolling, and for it to be out there, for that vision to be set, for our leadership of our institution to just really recognize that that's important and that we do it, and the opportunity that can mean on the back end in terms of revenue and the completion of the stadium. That's all fantastic. And honestly, if there's one thing I love to do in college athletics, it's raise money and build facilities. It is a very satisfying process. I enjoy that process. So I really got to get into it and sort of unpack the funding structure and how we're approaching that, what the fundraising process looks like. But in the end, we're going to need really big support first of all, to start with, from our highest-end folks. In big ways, and if we do that right, structure it the right way, that can also then be a return in future years with all the additional premium and all those things. So that is one of the many challenges of these projects. You have to have enough investment on the front end to where you can realize some of the benefit on the back end. But it'll be a big process. It'll be one of the top two or three things I'm jumping into right away because there's some pressing time, there's some urgency to it, but there's also this incredible kind of Mizzou momentum that I see just sort of on the outside and looking at what's happening with football, in particular with this sort of creative NIL structure with the state. It's really exciting, and you need to maximize those opportunities, take advantage of them, and keep things rolling because it's not always been that way, right? There's times and eras when you're struggling through it, and it's a lot more difficult to really be able to move not only the football program but the athletic department and the institution further ahead during that.
We both remember when Larry Smith took Missouri to a couple of bowl games for the first time in a number of years. I used to refer to it when we would be out traveling the state as the perpetual smile of the Missouri fan. it would last till the end of the bowl season, until the start of the next football season. There was that enthusiasm, that momentum, that undying hope that this would be recreated again. When you think about the footprint of the state of Missouri, and you talked about being external, do you go back to, doing more of those outreach tours, if you will, where you're trying to hit, at one point in time, Mike hit 114 counties in 3 years. Is that the grassroots approach that you have to have?
Really, I think it has to be at all levels.
Yeah.
Getting into the specifics of exactly that or another
Right,
approach,
yeah.
we'll sit down and really understand what this looks like and how we're doing it. But I will tell you, we have to be outbound. I remember we had a statewide outreach plan that I put together with Ross Bjork way back in the day when we were really getting the Tiger Scholarship Fund staffed up and getting out there, and we were going to all corners of the state, and that really had an impact. I think it was one of the things that allowed me to sort of get established early on. Is I realized if I go to them, if we're out and in their homes and in their business offices and shaking hands directly, that's an incredible way to build relationships, and people appreciate that. So we need to be out. We're asking them to come to us, and hopefully they're really enjoying coming to us and winning a lot of ball games. And it's one of the things I love about college athletics, particularly to a place like Mizzou, where it's a college town in the center of the state and how it brings everybody together. But we need to also reciprocate that and be out there and thanking everybody for what they're doing.
Sounds like you remember the message of you can't do your job from behind your desk in Columbia, Missouri. What about this NIL space, this new unhinged world with no boundaries that we live in? How do you attack that?
I think you have to attack it innovatively, aggressively. We're at a place now where it's sort of an opportunity if you really look at it the right way, and it is wild. I'll be the first to admit, and it's hard to sometimes get your head around, and it's hard sometimes to not jump back and think, is this really okay? Is this what we're supposed to do? But I do believe that's why I like this really aggressive NIL law and what happened to put that together here for Missouri, and the position that puts us in, and the alignment with the state leadership, politically, the university, that had to have been there for that to happen, is really encouraging, because we're at a time when you have to have alignment with leadership because things are changing so fast that you have to be in a position to adjust the strategy and think differently. You saw probably the FedEx NIL bill that we announced unbelievably the same day as my Zoom interview, my first interview on this. It was a little bit stressful for me, but it is hugely impactful to have something like that at a place like I was at, because it just doesn't have the kind of statewide resources in terms of everything's about Mizzou here, and I love that. The power of that, and we just got to find ways to unlock it.
How about from a staff standpoint? Obviously, you've got a large, very productive staff. From an athletic director's standpoint, coming in, overseeing that entire operation, how do you make individual or group assessments, if you will, of the individual entities that make up Mizzou athletics?
It's a process, and you know me well enough to know that I'm not someone that just comes in right away and makes quick decisions. I will make hard decisions, and I'll make quick decisions when they're necessary. But I do think, particularly when you're dealing with staff and people, you have to give them some time and yourself some time to really get to know each other. And that's a two-way street, right? They need to know that do they fit with my philosophy. It goes both ways. Sure. But I've heard really good things genuinely about the leadership. I really appreciate Marcy's role. I've been in that role before. It's hard, and she's handled it extremely well. And great things about the other staff. I'm encouraged to see that particularly the Tiger Scholarship Fund staff has really grown, and they're investing there because we're going to need that kind of bandwidth to be able to go out there and really generate the resources we need. But we'll take our time. We're going to get in there and get to know them and really understand how we operate. I'll have some things that the way I think, the way I like to manage and work through. But overall, I hear really good things, and that's one of the things I'm encouraged about. You don't want to go and have to make changes unless they're needed, and then unless it's really going to progress the place in the right way.
Let me close with this. As your career comes really full circle and back to Mizzou, what does this day mean to Laird and Brandy Veatch?
It is overwhelming in an incredibly man, personal way. I know I'm going to get emotional at the press conference. I just know it. But try to hold it together.
Yeah.
But you work all your career for an opportunity like this. That to be an SEC athletic director, but to be able to do it here, and not only just because of the history here, but we're Midwest people. Families nearby. I wanted to be in the SEC, and as Mr. Todd Graves, one of the curators, pointed out during our interview process, I want to be in the SEC and I want to be in the Midwest, and I want to win in the SEC too. Let me clarify that. But there's only one option, right? This is it. So
Yeah.
in so many ways, this was kind of always the plan. We just didn't know it was the plan until earlier in the week, and it is remarkably satisfying, fulfilling, and the relationships and the people that have been reaching out and just all the flood of memories. Man, this is like coming home.
God's got a plan, and I always knew that you wanted to be back here. And it happens that in April of 2024 it was part of his plan to bring your family back here. Congratulations. I'm so excited to see you hit the ground running, and looking forward to continuing to work with you. Can I finally say it? Can I finally call you boss?
No!
Great to see you.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Appreciate it.
Laird Veatch, ladies and gentlemen.